People are free to speak whatever classist, racist, false, misogynistic, bigoted comments they'd like. They do not have the right to force others to endure their harassment and abuse.
U.S. judge has just ruled that an FBI terror watch list that is shared among the federal government and several of its agencies is unconstitutional and violates the civil rights of those on that list.
Essentially, he was ruling on a case where 23 Muslim Americans sued the federal government. They sued the FBI, saying they had been included on an FBI terror watch list that they shouldn't be on. And the judge agreed with them, actually. And some of what he wrote is pretty incredible, saying this, quote, there is no evidence or contention that any of these plaintiffs, get this,
satisfied the definition of a known terrorist.
He says that anyone could be placed on this list, and they have no idea why they're on this list because there doesn't seem to be any
methodology or criteria for why people are on the list.
He also says that the people who are on the list maybe have never committed
any kind of criminal act,
have done nothing that should make them being suspected of terrorism, and yet they're on the list for some reason. And there's
about 4,600 Americans on this list.
So it's a pretty big ruling.
Yeah, that is incredible, Ben. Just the FBI can essentially just place anybody, you, me, if they want, on this list for any reason. So as you just mentioned, there are thousands of U.S. citizens like you and me on this watch list. What consequences has it had on their lives? What sort of impact?
Well, some of these plaintiffs essentially went into court saying that this has had a huge impact on their lives. It limits their ability to travel by airplane and to get onto flights. Even though they're not on the do not fly list, it does still affect them in that way. Some have claimed that they could not get bank accounts opened because they're on this list. And again, what's really important about this, Manila, is that the inclusion on this list
doesn't seem to make any sense
because there's no set criteria for it. Again, this is something that the judge actually wrote here. He says the people who are on this list, he says they have not engaged in
criminal activity, they have not committed a crime, and there is no evidence that they will commit a crime in the future.
So if that is the case, what good does this list actually do other than to compile names of people, in this case, a lot of Muslim names, of people in this country who are citizens of this country? It clearly violates
their constitutional rights, their right to due process,
because there is no due process, their right to challenge any of these claims that are being made, or even to have evidence brought against them that they are a threat to this country. So it's a very important rule. So there are real people who want to commit acts of terrorism. I mean, for instance, we just saw this El Paso shooting a few weeks ago. That's clearly an act of terrorism. It's not an act of Islamic terrorism. Right. It's an act of white nationalist terrorism, but certainly it is an act of terrorism. But what is the FBI doing to actually find those people? Was this guy's name on a list? No, it wasn't. No. And so one of the problems is when you start to compile lists of people not based upon any criteria, not based upon anything that they've done, that violates constitutional rights. I don't care if the government says this could make us safer. It doesn't matter. We have a constitutional process that protects rights for a reason, because government has proven throughout centuries it is not capable of being able to look at things in a fair way. It misuses, it abuses, and it tramples on the individual's right. That's what this list has been doing. Hopefully it comes to an end. The problem is, the one negative out of this whole ruling from this judge is that he has not just ended this practice and abolished the list. He's now giving the government time to go back and try to clarify what process it will use and how it will go through this process and who should be and who should not be on the list. So he's actually giving them time to go back and kind of rework it a little bit, which frankly I think is wrong.
Giving them a second chance at a bite at the apple. So we will see how this plays out.
Hi, yes, my name is Juan. That's Juan.
Thank you. All right, sir. What can we help you with today?
I have a series of questions, but just to sum it all up, I have reason to suspect that I'm under a federal investigation, and I've been subjected to cruel and unusual punishment involving remote neuromonitoring technology, where I've been subjected to a series of mind control techniques that are designed to break me. And I don't know who to contact for help because I'm not necessarily aware of who the exact agency is behind it. But based on my evidence and the fact that I've been documenting and I've been conducting independent research, I have reason to suspect this is like a national, meaning that it's not just one agency in particular. It involves multiple agencies, or at least agents from multiple agencies engaging in such activity. And I just wanted to know how or who do I need to contact to go about seeking remedy for the damages that have been done against me, because I've developed PTSD. I've lost a lot of...
Okay, well, sir,
yes?
It sounds like you need to seek medical assistance, okay? This is something we're not going to assist you with today, but we will document your call. Have a nice day.
Alright, there it is. There it is, guys. So that proves that these people that are supposed to be investigating criminal activity, real criminal activity, not this corporate BS crap that these police officers and these criminals that I just contacted are engaged in, which they're just after fattening their pockets and eating off of the poor and the misery and subjugation of human consciousness to a ruling class elitist system that believes in slavery of the human race.
Being on this list, does that basically allow the FBI to kind of monitor their actions, their daily lives, what they do? I mean, what kind of freedoms does this give the FBI or any other agency if your name is on this list?
Well, that's what we don't know. We don't know how the FBI has been using the list specifically, other than to monitor, as you said, the behavior of these people. The question becomes, though, at what point do you come off the list? If you're on that list for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I mean, we're 18 years after 9/11 now. We're about to hit that anniversary. And so you would have to ask the question, what good does this list actually do, other than to compile people's names and give the FBI something to do? Again, we know that list is affecting some of these people in terms of how they live their daily lives and their inability to be able to, again, travel in certain ways freely, which is your constitutional right, in order to be able to open bank accounts. It is impeding their life in so many ways. How the FBI is using it is one thing, but why is the FBI using it? What is the value that comes from this? And why are names not being taken off the list instead of getting to the point where, again, you have 1.2 million names worldwide? 1.2 million. That's a lot of names and a lot of people on that list. 4,600 of those people are U.S. citizens. And yet how many of those 4,600 have ever even committed a crime, certainly not an act of terrorism?
Open your mind.
The Joint Terrorism Task Force Division of the FBI sent 2 agents out to my house to visit me. I'm a part-time peace activist, a full-time mom of 5 kids, and a part-time registered nurse. These 2 agents knocked on my door. They verified their identities with me, and they also verified my identity. At that point, I shut my door, went inside, and grabbed my video camera. This is what followed when I opened my door.
Danger.
Okay, go ahead and show me your badge again, and tell me your names.
Joe Stephen.
Joe Stephen. And where are you from?
Here in Austin.
Lane Brewster Smith. And you're with who?
FBI.
FBI? And why are you here? To talk to me?
Just talking about some of your activities and just...
And what activities are those?
Not exactly protesting, but what may happen from the protest.
Not the protesting. No, which protest in particular are you talking about?
Not sure. That's what we're here to talk to you about.
Okay, well, how did you hear about me?
I can't tell you that.
You can't tell me.
It was a call.
A call-in. A call-in from who?
Can't tell you that.
Really? Okay. So you're with the FBI. You're here knocking on my door. Here, I'm a mother of 5 kids. And here you are. This young lady here, too, is knocking on my door. She's with the FBI to question me about a protest. Great. Great.
Do you know any concerns that you would have concerning us being here?
Yes, I'm very concerned that I get a knock on my door from the FBI. Very concerned about it, and I think a lot of people will want to hear about this.
Do you have any questions for us?
Well, who's your next person that you're going to stop to here in Austin or in Texas?
I can't tell you that.
You can't tell me that.
If you want our card, this is...
I love your card.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm confused on why you won't answer the questions. concerning
Because
destruction
I
of
have a right
property.
to remain silent.
Yes, you do, and that's fine.
Right.
But I don't understand all this part of it.
You don't understand this part. Well, I think the American people need to know that when they participate in a protest against something legitimate that they feel they can protest against, that they may get a knock on their door from the FBI. So this is something that we all need to know.
Protest. I said you have the right to protest.
Okay.
But you don't have the right to destroy property. You don't have the right to hurt people.
Okay, so I really think, and I'm sure a lot of people would think, that this woman here would go around destroying property and hurting people in a protest.
It's also just knowing information about if anything like that would happen, not necessarily that you would do it, is if you had information of that happening. Because what our job is to try to prevent acts of violence before they occur.
Hidden behind the flesh, behind the facade, lies a ravenous wolf.
Open your mind.
Ready to devour thy flesh.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
Open your mind.
Open your mind.